Forum for the special election in Senate District 621, organized by the Somali American Caucus of the Political Party. I want to start by extending a thank you to the Lighthouse Academy of Nations for hosting all of us tonight. We have 6 DFL candidates, all vying to replace long-term serving Senator Linda Breckland, who announced her retirement back in July. And we also have a decent-sized audience from the community, as well as a member of the local media. Senate District 621 has a large Somali community, and we believe a large turnout could have an impact in the outcome of this race. But before we get any further, I'd like to start off by announcing some ground rules and some announcements. First, our discussion is expected to last approximately about 90 minutes. Each candidate will have 1 minute to opening statement or introduction, and 1.5 minutes for closing remarks. And we also would like to cover 6 questions if we could, and each question is allotted for about a minute and a half. The candidates will not ask questions, but there will be 30-second rebuttal if you feel necessary or if warranted. And the start of the new questions will be based on the previous questions. For instance, if we start here, the following question will be started by the candidate sitting on the left side. Also, audience is asked to remain silent and accept the beginning or the end, where they can plot the candidates for a couple rounds of counting. So please, you can plot the candidates. I say that, but I'll say it again. The event is organized. It is a party affairs activity, and it's organized by the Somali American Caucus of the DFL Party. Earlier, we had a visit from the Republican candidate, and we advised him he could sit in the audience and join us, but we couldn't simply because of party rules, we're not having participate in the event. So why don't we go ahead and start? And on the left here, Kyle, you have 1 minute to introduce yourself, and certainly this is a constituency caucus. Feel free to assert your involvement in the Somali community.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Kyle Wilson, and I've lived in South Minneapolis for about 4 years now. I'm a small business owner and a web developer. I'm running on a large campaign about transportation and cycle issues. That's probably my biggest concern. Health. Spending our healthcare and our structuring of healthcare in the state is another large concern that I have. Regulated impound fees is another big issue I'm running on. Education reform and increasing access to education is another one of my large standing issues. If you'd like to know more about the campaign, I encourage everyone to visit my website at kylewilsonforsenate.com. And I'd just like to thank everyone for putting this together and giving me a chance to speak tonight.
Hi, my name is Representative Jeff Hayden, and first off, I want to again thank the Somali community and Somali DFL for having this forum tonight. I am the current state representative for the B side of the district, which is Lake Street South. I am running for state senate. I've had 3 years of very strong progressive advocacy at the state capitol. I've seen many of you there fighting for these issues. I was the chair or the chief author of the Minnesota Health Plan, which is the single-payer health care bill of last year. We're also working strongly on the jobs component. We know that one of the biggest issues in District 61 is jobs or the lack of jobs. And so I have worked tirelessly with my good friend from North Minneapolis, Representative Bobby Champion. We had an economic summit really looking at jobs in the urban community, jobs in the African and African American community. I also have worked on Somali issues. Many of you know that we have a disproportionate amount of our children in the Somali community that have autism. So I've worked closely with advocates to try to figure out the research and also figure out how do people in the Somali community advocate for themselves in a very complex system around autism. I've also worked with Representative Clark, who was here today, who is my counterpart on the A side, and we've worked very hard at introducing legislation for the research And also we have introduced legislation so that the Somali community can have their very own group, a council on East Asian affairs, which will be made up primarily of Somali individuals so that we can really look at the issues that are going on in the Somali community. We've also worked really hard at taking a look at the social determinants of education along with education reform. So those are just some of the things that I've done in the 3 short years that I've been at the legislature. I look forward to talking to each and every one of you.
Good afternoon. My name is Elsa Betrica. I live in District 61 for the last almost 40 years. In spite of the fact that we've moved around, we've always stayed in District 61. I have a passion for public service. My academic background is in, I am a chemical engineer by training, and I have a master's in community development. My work experience has been in management, training, organizational development, but more focused in government and nonprofit. I am very interested in this race because I have seen a lot of the jobs going away. And as we know, if we want to have a very good district or a very good state, we need to make sure that we can build our economy by family and block by block. The economic development also is important to me, especially in creating jobs. Without jobs, education cannot be an attainable dream for many. We need to fix our broken housing market. That is also one of the things that is very hard for me to even just think about. We need to make sure that everyone in the community is included. A vision for the future is for us all to have a role in shaping it. It's very important that each one of us play a crucial role in making a difference in the community. I have worked in the Somali community with the Children's Hospital. A lot of the children that we needed interpreters, we've established that standard for excellent interpreting. And that's one of the things that I have done in the community, especially for the Somali community.
Thank you. We just asked the candidates, please cognizant of time, this top round of questions.
I was watching that clock. Right there.
Hello, my name is Sadiq Warfa. First, let me thank the Somali DFL caucuses for hosting this important debate. I also would like to thank my colleagues who are here today to participate in this debate. And I also would like to thank the audience who are here tonight. And I also finally would like to thank my family who are here with me today. My friends, the Declaration of Independence says that when the government fails, the people have a right to replace it. I believe the mission of government, and sometimes it's failure. I don't like its failures. That's why I believe that we need a new kind of leaders in this District 361. First, I also want to take this opportunity to thank the former Senator, Linda Gurman. She was a tenacious senator who represented the people of this district very well. I wish her and her family well. But I think that this district needs a new direction. Last year, when I ran that historic campaign, I listened to the people of my district. They have informed me that their needs and their concerns. My campaign will be about 3 simple things: jobs, jobs, jobs. And second, I would like to focus on investing our education system. And also, finally, expanding the health care for all. I will be delighted to answer your questions today. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Paulette Will. I am a longtime resident of Senate District 61. I am an activist in the DFL party. I was one of the co-founders of the DFL Women's Feminist Caucus, and I was a national delegate in 1991 to the Democratic Convention in New York. And I, as Sadiq, believe that Senate District 61 is going to experience tremendous impacts from the cuts in the at the federal level and at the state level. This district is going to be like the canary in the coal mine. We're going to feel it first, but the rest of the state is going to feel it also. And I believe the most important thing that we can do, and that I can do in filling out the term of Senator Bergler, no one can replace her, no one can fill her shoes. But the most important thing that I can do in the short amount of time that the legislative session is open, and then after that is to be a listener, eyes and ears, in terms of making sure that everyone has an opportunity to express their needs. I support a $10 minimum wage and the wage subsidy for disadvantaged workers, and we also support the repeal of origin credit.
Good evening, I'm Christian Hoyer. First off, I'd like to thank the Somali American Caucus for putting this on. Any opportunity where all 6 of us are able to get together and discuss issues that are important to the members of the 61st Precinct, I think is a valuable opportunity for all of us to participate in the democracy that this nation was founded on, and the democracy that all of us have grown to appreciate. My primary initiatives as a candidate are to focus on the ways I feel that the state legislature and state government has failed us as citizens. Our infrastructure is falling apart. Our healthcare is not nearly as great as it used to be, and we're shortchanging our children's educational futures through the means by which our budget was most recently balanced. I'm sure the questions that we'll be fielding here in the near future will allow us to address those issues a little bit more further. So with that, let's get to the questions.
Okay, thank you. The first question, I think some of the candidates already touched on, but we would like to ask again, what experience in your background that best prepared you to become the next senator from District 61? We'll start with Representative Tiffany.
So, thank you for the question. As your representative today on the B side of the district, I think that for the last 3 years, I think has really prepared me to understand the legislative process. I've had a great opportunity being elected twice now to go out and listen to the constituents of our district and to really kind of align the values that I bring to the Capitol are the same values that we have here in Senate District 61. One of the things that we're going to have to do in being there is to really, really be an advocate. I think it is important for us to listen, but we are going to have to be an advocate, almost an activist, to fight for what we want. As you guys watch throughout this legislative process, there is a brewing group of people in the legislature that have come into the legislature this year that do not care about us, that do not care about the people of Senate District 61, and most certainly don't care about the Somali community. We have seen increasingly bills and legislation that have been put in by myself, Senator Bergler, Representative Clark is here. We have seen those look to be repealed. So those are the kind of things that I think that we're going to need to have the kind of experience as we move forward.
Same question.
Oh, this one?
Yes, that.
Thank you for that question, and I think that it's a very important question. What prepared me to run for office? I have seen a lot of the erosion of services. I have seen, like what Paulette said, this district that I personally picked is the canary in the coal mine. So many people are affected in our area. So many jobs so many people are unemployed. What brings me to this position is I'm a trained facilitator and a consensus builder. I have experience in multi-sectoral areas. I work in government. I've seen how the system works and how it can work better. This last session has really failed our citizenry when the budget that was proposed has left out so many people, especially in our district. And I think my experience in being a multi-sectoral and facilitator and consensus builder is what I can bring to the table.
That's also a very good question. What prepares me for this job is that experience could be different things. The experience is rooted in real life. I came here as an immigrant, as millions of Americans, 16 years ago. I put myself through college. Minnesota has been nice to me since I came to this place. It gives me and my family opportunity to earn American dream. That's why I have a sense of service to provide to my community and my district. But also, propelled me to run this office is actually to change the political system. I offer new ideas and also common sense approach for our problems of the state. For example, the last government shutdown in the last July, we have the politicians who put their interest ahead of the interest of the people. My campaign is very simple. I want to represent you, the people, and you have the chance to elect the next state senate in District 61. My life experience and my true community activism who believes that empowering the people. That's the kind of candidate I am, and I'm willing to take on the task that district needs. This district needs jobs and jobs and jobs, and I'm very for it. Thank you.
I've been in training for this my entire life. This is a piece of cake to represent people who need a voice at the state capitol. I do not back down. People who know me understand that. I will not always seek the high ground because that means you're looking for a deal. I don't go to the state capitol looking for a deal. I go to the state capitol to represent the people of this district. I'm not a deal maker. That is not what is going to serve the best interest of the people in this district. This is, I worked in the state capitol, I've worked in the House, I've worked in the Senate. I understand the legislative process. I understand it backwards and forwards. I worked with Senator Alan Spear, who was the first openly gay elected official in the country. And one thing that I think people may not know, because they may not know the history of when the DFL took over in the state, and that was in 1971, they were in the minority. We are in the minority. There is no doubt about it. We are in the minority, as Representative Hayden said. And when you toil in the minority, you find out who you are, what you stand for, and you will find your voice again. And that is what I will do at the state.
When thinking of experience, legislative experience can be classified both as hands-on and in the legislature and through experience in the professional realm. Professionally, I work as a designer and professional communicator, and it's my job to work with different clients from hotel properties to major retailers to mom and pop snack food businesses to take complex ideas and distill them into simple to understand, easy to digest concepts. And the point of being a legislator is to do the same thing for their constituents and to equally represent them and represent the values that they desire to have shown through their government. By having to work with clients to understand what it is that they want and being able to translate that into what it is that they need, I believe allows me to have a unique insight and creativity that Linda brought when she first started in the Senate close to 4 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have been a small business owner for the past 5 years now, so I have been able to manage an entire organization myself. We've expanded to 3 or 4 people at times and been able to innovate and make new products, which I think is a huge asset that I can bring to the campaign. But more importantly, I think the biggest skill that I have is a tenacity and ability to learn and ask questions of people. I think it's more important to admit when you're wrong, when you don't understand something, and to advance your experience from there. I think that's the only way you can truly understand people in your district and develop the sense of empathy that is required in order to represent people accurately.
Thank you. Our next question is about jobs. It's already been, I'm sorry.
Elsa.
Elsa, okay. Our next question is about jobs, and the unemployment in the Somali community is very high. In some villages, I've been told it's gone as high as 30%. There's also a high-profile cases of job discrimination, including some cases that ended up to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. So the question is that I'd like to know is, what's your plan to help create jobs and prevent job discrimination in the workplace in the state of Minnesota?
That is, I'm glad that that question is asked or was asked, because that is one of the reasons why it prompted me to put my name into the hat of this ring. We need to have jobs in our community, and in the Somali community from 1999 to the present has increased in number. My background, I was Deputy Director of the Minneapolis Civil Rights. I am currently on the Committee on Equality and Justice for the Minnesota courts. I have a lot of ideas of how we can make sure that discrimination is addressed, and that legislation that would be important to address those. I think we need to look at not just jobs, but jobs training, because some of the skills that we brought into this country, we need to translate them into the skills that's needed here. By 2018, most of 75% of the jobs would require a college degree. So that is very important, that we not only think about the jobs itself, but the creation of the jobs and elimination of discrimination, but looking into what needs to happen within our
community. And our caucus are looking for specific ideas to help create jobs in places like Senate District 61. What would you offer?
Small business enterprises. I think a lot of the immigrants had really changed the landscape of the community, especially District 61. So that's one of the things that I want to make sure that there will be support for that there will be legislations that would encourage small business enterprises.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. How you create jobs in District 61? My campaign is the most important things I want to emphasize is creating jobs. How you create, I have a specific plan. I will be using tax credit. For businesses, you give them targeted tax cut to come to our area to invest. For example, if the incentive to the employers will be that if they hire somebody who is unemployed a long time, we will give them a tax credit. We have to, what distinguishes me from my colleagues here today for me is that I'm a very pro-business candidate. I want to make it clear, I love business. Because business is the engine of growth in our district. And I would love to have a lot of companies come to South Minneapolis and invest so they can create jobs and employment will go down. So my plan is to give targeted tax cut. You give them targeted tax cut, and you can get more information by going to www.citycorpa.com and by hitting my job economy plan. I have a specific plan addressing this issue. Thank you.
First of all, I support a $10 minimum wage. Secondly, I'm ready to go to work at the state capitol with Representative Tom Rafadina, with Representative Hayden, with Senator John Marty to reestablish the wage subsidy for disadvantaged workers. That's already been introduced. It needs to be passed. Thirdly, I want to make sure that the tip credit that Minnesota has on the books is sustained. We cannot repeal that, because if we repeal the tip credit, we are going to see fast food, junk food restaurants flooding into the district with no health care and minimum wages. So those three things alone will go a long way to make sure that we stop the flow and the loss of jobs that we've already experienced. The last decade has been a lost decade under the leadership of Governor Pawlenty. Thank God he's gone.
When approaching the job situation, there are two ways to go about it. One would be to piggyback on what Sadiq had said about incentivizing business. There needs to be incentives for local business owners to keep their businesses local and to encourage people to shop locally. Right now there are incentives to patronize minority-owned businesses, and we should really change that incentive to patronizing all local businesses, whether it be the local garden shop, the local coffee shop, anything like that. The more money we're able to give to individuals who shop locally and support local business are going to allow those local businesses to reinvest into local economies. Secondly, if anyone's driven in Minneapolis lately, you can understand that our roads are terrible. The interstate system that we enjoy for the most part today was a result of the Depression, which was instigated as a jobs program. For the state to take a leap of faith, as it were, and invest heavily in repairing our bridges and roads, there's going to be a great need for individuals to fix those bridges and roads. And that is a great way to get a lot of people who are not working right now, working and earning a decent living to be able to pay their bills.
Thank you.
So this is a pretty great question, and right now we're dealing with an issue where we have 9.5% unemployment nationally, and we're dealing with a growth rate that's under 2%. It's become pretty abundantly clear that we have a huge demand crisis in this country, and that the federal government is not willing or unable to help us out and take the lead on this. So we have to do it as a state and as a district. Now, the biggest things I want to do in regards to this is, much like was said earlier, reinvest in our infrastructure in our state. There's a huge potential to grow jobs. Currently, the Department of Transportation needs $30 billion to get our infrastructure up to where it needs to be, which is a ridiculous figure. The other things we need to look into, Portland currently has an organization called the Portland Seed Fund, and it's used to encourage technology investment within the community. And if we emulated a program like that, we could have new ideas and new tech companies coming into South Minneapolis. And the usual investments are typically very small and minimal, $50,000 investments, and they help nurture these companies into full-blown organizations.
Thank you. Senator.
Well, I want to tackle it in just a little bit different way. The one thing that you did talk about, and we talked about jobs and creating jobs, and I've worked awfully hard at bringing that issue, this issue of high unemployment in the African American and African community, to the governor himself. So for the first time this year in 24 years, the governor came at Representative Champion and I's insistence to North Minneapolis to not only talk about jobs in North Minneapolis, but jobs in all of the urban communities in Minnesota. And so we have a set of goals that we have established with the governor that is starting to take a hold. Small dollar or investments in small business, making sure that the workforce development and training centers are actually have outcomes that they can follow. Those are the kind of things that we have already started to do to start to decrease the unemployment in our district. I would like to speak just a tad bit about this discrimination issue. So 3 years ago, the Minneapolis City Council was going to scrap their civil rights department, and they were only going to do they weren't going to do investigations. Representative Champion and I once again went in front of the Minneapolis City Council and lobbied them and got them to not do that. This year, the GOP-led legislature had a 65% cut to the Department of Human Rights. Once again, Representative Clark, myself, and others in this district lobbied the governor, and in the final deal, though the deal, it wasn't the deal we wanted, but we did get the cuts reduced to only 5%. Those are some of the tangible things that I've already done to deal with this issue of jobs and jobs discrimination.
Thank you. Question number 3 is regarding about youth at risk. There's the story of Somali young men going back to Somalia to allegedly fight for a terrorist group. There's the violence, gang-related activities in the district, particularly in the Phillips neighborhood. So the question is, how are you going to address as a state senator from District 61 neighborhoods with youth at high risk without recreational and sports facilities and school programs to prevent them to become in contact in the criminal justice system? We'll start with Steve.
That's a very good question. The youth problem in our district, and how do we make integration? We have to make sure that we invest in education. In order to create good jobs, you must invest in education. That's how you create good jobs. How you prevent the youth It's making them busy. They have a lot of time. They have a lot of time in their hands. First, let me make sure that I want to make clear that me as a Somali American, as myself, I'm very proud to be an American. And I will tell every young man who's watching this program to appreciate it, what this country has to offer for all of us. The way to do good about this country is to help yourself. Self-help. Make sure that you go to school, you don't hang around with the bad kids, and you do your best. So although Somalians, or they are the same as any other groups, is we must invest in education, give them more time for after school hours, and give them more time so they can prepare to go to school and have a decent time. Thank you.
That's a tough question because I think it's going to take a generation to actually change and help young people. They need role models, and I think Sadiq is a fine example and a positive role model. But there are other ways that, besides being in the state legislature, that the community can come together. And I offered one example. It would be to establish 2 scholarships, one on the A side of the district and one on the B side of the district, for young people to go into community gardening. And I am personally willing to help work on growing those 2 scholarships so that we can send our young, one person from the A side of the district and one from the B side of the district to the Women's Enterprise Institute. Is it the Women's Enterprise Institute, Karen? Economic Institute? What is it? Environmental Institute, excuse me, to train new gardeners, and I think that's just one of the many ways that I think you've got to get kids involved and engaged in their community so that they are invested in the community.
Thank you. Chris?
The 2 things that jump out to me about this are, one, the fact that we've deferred payment to our schools to